Hello, readers. Welcome back to The Adulterous Whore. I'm your host, Stacey. Well, guess what, guys? I found it. I found your next fantasy trilogy, and it's all thanks to the amazing DianaKay Abraham. Thanks for coming on, DianaKay.
Well, thanks for having me.
No, I'm so glad to have you on. So, I've obviously read the first two books in your trilogy, but why don't you tell my listeners all about your first two books?
For Reclaiming Arabella, you're going to find that it's kind of a coming of age beginning to where our lead Raven doesn't really know who she is or where she comes from or what her purpose is other than surviving. She finds herself as the Queen's assassin and is just kind of working through to get the bare basics of life down. She has a snarky horse named Nightmare, and he's kind of a treat. And then as the story progresses, she finds out she's Fae and begins interacting with the Fae kingdom nearby the human lands called the Agron Realm, in which she meets her fated mate. And then the story kind of goes on from there. And then with Revealing Felix, we learn more about the characters, and then we follow one of the fan favorites from book one and delve into his fated mate's story of just kind of mayhem. And it's kind of a different feel. I kind of like Revealing Felix a little more than Reclaiming Arabella. It's a tiny bit less heartbreaking, and you get a lot of enchanted artifacts and magical beasts, and it's just kind of a fun ride all the way through.
I really enjoyed it. I had such a good time reading both of the books. Now, in the first book, I have to admit, I was really, really gut-wrenched about what happened to Arabella. Now, how do you think that event, you know what event I'm talking about, right, shaped her as a person all these years later?
I think it just made her realize how cruel the world can be, and that if she doesn't stand up and take what she wants, she's never going to get it, because it'll literally be ripped away from her. So with that, it kind of built on that insecurity to where later in the story, when she's having to kind of put a lot of trust into a situation that she's not 100% sure with, it kind of makes her stand back and think, like, is this going to end up the way my childhood was, or did I finally find my way home?
Yeah, that's a great answer. Love that. I really felt for her as a character too, because as the book kind of progressed, you saw the journey that she was on, and you kind of felt like maybe she didn't know what had happened and who she was, but she did, and she kind of shelved that. So that was a really great answer. I love that. Okay, I'm going to make sure I got this guy's name correctly. Is it Uriah?
Uriah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Uriah. Okay, good.
Yep, you nailed it.
That's what I was saying in my head, and I'm like, what if I'm wrong? I'm like, oh no. So yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I was really worried. Especially fantasy books. I'm 9 times out of 10, I am 100% wrong. And I'm okay with that. I'm like, oh, I didn't check. I'm like, oh no. I'm probably not the only one. I'm probably not the only one.
Your name is Kay now. Like, it's just the first letter.
Good. I'm glad I got it right. So they're fated mates, and they were betrothed from a very young age. Now, how do you think your readers will feel about a baby being betrothed to a 10-year-old? But do you think the age really matters when it comes to romantasy books?
So the reason I did that was I wanted to add in the age gap element, but I also wanted to point out that, when there is a 20-year age gap in some characters, or, a 500-year age gap, for me, I find it a little bit icky. So I kind of wanted to really just throw that point in there when I wrote it. But then you see how respectful Uriah is and how he kind of plays off of her timeline. He's like, no, it's going to take her a little while. And he's really respectful about that. I think just because it is like there's like a 9.5-year age gap between Arabella and Uriah. So the whole baby thing, a lot of people are like, wait a second. But that's the reality of it when there is that age gap, which is perfectly fine. As far as, adults are adults, do your own thing. I don't really care about that. But I did want to kind of highlight that, sometimes it's a little off.
Yeah. No, I thought I was okay with it because I understood where you were coming from. But I know lots of people complain about it in my groups. Are like, oh, I really don't need to know that a baby's like the whole thing with Twilight, right? So I'm like, well, I wonder how you felt about that because you added that in. I'm like, I was curious.
Yeah. Well, and like even Uriah is like, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I thought the first age gap was not great. And now, like, when you start reading and you realize that they did the same thing to Ariana, not only does it say something about the Fae society and what they will allow, but it also kind of puts Uriah on the hot block because he's like, yuck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I definitely there's a little bit of modern goings on, I guess, that I kind of imprinted into that.
Yeah. No, I liked it. I thought you handled it really, really well. That was one of the things that I noticed, and I'm like, "I thought you handled it really well,"
Thank
you know?
you.
I wondered how you felt about the whole age gap thing, but that's good. So, how do you feel about the term romantasy? Because I noticed on Goodreads, I didn't think you listed it as a romantasy, and I know that readers, like, are obsessed with romantasy right now, so I was kinda wondering how you felt about that.
I personally love romantasy. I've been a big fantasy reader most of my life. So like everything from C.S. Lewis to like Terry Goodkind is my absolute favorite. With the Sword of Truth series. So for me, I like the idea of making it a little more spicier and bringing in the romance element into all of the action of a fantasy and still kind of building that world out. So for
Yeah.
me, I think I don't know. I'm kind of glad that it's developed over the last 5 or 6 years because it's really drawn me back to reading more than I was before.
I like that. I've kind of gotten to the point now where romantasy seems to be the genre to go to. So I found myself dabbling more in it lately. Nightmare, the horse. I'm like, God, I love him. I would love to have a horse just like him. But if you could have any mystical creature to ride, what would you pick and why?
So this is just me being the whimsical weirdo that I am. But I would probably
Whimsically weird.
have like a large capybara because they're just such happy little animals rolling
I
around.
love that.
It's definitely like a spirit animal kind of thing.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I would go with the capybara.
I
Probably
love
name him
that.
Todd or something.
I love that. So, Arabella, you made her an assassin. That's the job that she has as a career. Now, why did you choose that for her?
So I actually have a prequel planned. So we're going to go more into her story, but it really just tied into the way the sculptor was training her. Because as
Right.
you find out, kind of as the series moves along, he was trying to train a weapon. And she took that and turned it on its head and started going after the men that preyed on other women in the human world.
Oh,
So for her, it wasn't so much being an assassin as much as she just messed up one day, got caught by the queen, and had to accept an ultimatum or sit in a dungeon. So for her, it was more just a means to an end, but she was so desensitized after years and years of being tortured that she just didn't care. She saw people that preyed on others and she wanted them done.
yeah. Wow. That's a great answer. You're so good at this. You're fabulous at this. So, fated mate. No, you're doing great. You're doing awesome. You got solid answers. I love that. So, fated mates as a trope. How hard was it to keep it original?
So I don't know that it was hard so much as I didn't want like a shifter romance. Not that I don't love them, because I do. But I feel like a lot
Yeah.
of fated mates stories fall into like either like a love triangle trope or they have like the second act breakup and it's just a lot of back and forth.
Yes.
And I really didn't want that for Arabella and Uriah, especially because it was kind of Uriah's second chance because he's always loved Arabella. Like he's never stopped looking for her. He's been pining for her. And that was before the spark even united. So
Yeah.
with that, like I think just following that pattern and wanting them to be a little more of a wholesome team was really important. And I think it worked really well for the storyline.
Yeah. I felt the same way, to be perfectly honest with you. I hate miscommunication and I hate third act breakups. Like, no.
Yeah.
So, this worked really well for me. I
Right.
really enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Unfortunately for Felix, revealing Felix went a different way with that fated mate's tale. But I feel like I tied them together well enough to,
You did.
I don't
You
know,
really
kind of
did.
move the story along, but give it a different aspect.
Yeah. I have to say, you said that you preferred revealing Felix. I actually liked that one better
I
too.
did.
Like,
It was more fun to write.
you
Little
found your
less
groove.
heartbreaking, but
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Except with maybe Sebastian, because he's the hardest voice that I have had to write. And I had the hardest
Really?
time, I guess, kind of figuring out his tone and still making it fun with the adventures that he was sent on. Because, there's
Yeah.
always that one character that just has a hard time.
Yeah. No, I get it. I think you did a really good job. Just saying, really fabulous job. So,
Well,
obviously,
thank
I
you.
am a bit
I'd
of a
say that means so much.
Oh, you're welcome. So obviously I'm a smut-loving girly, and obviously we appreciate it when authors put a little bit of spice into their books. Now, what made you decide to add spicy scenes in there, and how hard were they to write?
It was hard to write, other than sometimes I'd write a sentence and be like, "Well, that's cringy," and then I would delete it and try again. But, like, there's a particular moment in revealing Felix that my husband and I were laughing at because he's kind of my sounding board. He's been my rock through this whole thing and just
Uh-huh.
kinda helping to bring things about, but he literally walked in the room one day and was just like, "Did you just blow the roof off of a cavern with an orgasm?" And I went, "Yeah, why wouldn't I?" I think it's more you have to realize, that everybody's human and everybody's got their own quirks, but you gotta have fun with it.
Well, yeah. I could definitely tell, like, the way you write, it came across, like, as I was reading it, I could really feel the passion and the intensity of how you really felt about your characters, and that was actually a quite a new experience for me. I really enjoyed that, so kudos to you.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, I also noticed some really spectacular artwork throughout. Like, who did the artwork?
So it's actually all mine. So, like, my book covers are my photography. I've
Yeah.
been an artist for decades at this point. So,
Wow.
not always the best. So, like, the beginning artwork that I did for Reclaiming Arabella is a little chunky because I was trying to learn programs like Procreate to try to do those myself. And I mean, it's not that I don't want to support other artists, I just don't have the funds to do that. So, a lot of it is just on me. But I've done everything from FX art to sculpting to photography to, like, drawing and acrylics and all of that. So it was just kind of pulling everything together to use the resources that I had. You'll notice that the art in Revealing Felix is a whole lot better
Oh,
than Reclaiming Arabella.
I
Most
thought it
of
was
that
good
was
in
because,
both. I thought it was fantastic in both. I
well,
started
a
off
lot
with,
of it's just hours. It's just hours of working on the same thing.
yeah,
And I kind of treat it so, like, I start with like a rough sketch, I scan it in, and then I treat it like a coloring book.
yeah,
And then I just, keep coloring over and over and over. And I don't know how many times I hit that back button to undo something that I did.
yeah.
And
I've
it's
been
a
there.
lot. It's a lot, but anybody can do it. You just got to have the patience and the practice.
Well, it worked really well. I think it really tied your book in together. I felt like I was getting a real experience, and it's your artwork. That's absolutely phenomenal. Like, why wouldn't you?
It's
Because
been
you
really fun.
plus they're your characters, so you know what you want to see more than having an artist do it. So I thought that was really
Yes,
impressive.
absolutely. Well, and a lot of times, so like Tagiri's character in particular from Revealing Felix, I drew him before I even knew his name. So,
Really?
like, I had him sketched out and I was like, okay, I was like, I think I was watching some, it was like a zoo show, and I heard the name Tagiri and I was like, well, I'm using that. And it was just the zookeeper's name on this random show. I don't even know what the show is. It's just it's an African name, and I fell in love with it. And I was like, you know what? I was like, we're gonna make a character. Love this. I was like, it fits into a fantasy world perfectly.
Yeah, it did. It did. You went
Inspirations
wrong.
everywhere.
Oh, yeah. I love that. Like, I love it when people tell me they drew inspiration from other places. That's awesome. Now, I can see why you went with Felix as like the main protagonist in book two, because I kind of loved him right from book one. So, did you draw like attributes from people that you knew to create Felix as a character? Is based on anybody you know?
So a lot of the characters are based kind of loosely random mannerisms from different friends. I lost a lot of people along the way,
Yeah.
especially in my younger years. So a lot of the attributes are just from like my favorite people that may or may not still be here.
Oh,
And then I just kind of roll them into the characters. So like sometimes it'll be a phrase that they say all the time.
aw,
I'm like, too easy. I had a friend growing up. He's no longer here.
I'm
He
sorry.
actually died very young, but he used to do the most daredevil things and he'd be like, too easy. So it was like one of those things that I had to like, they just kind of resonate with you and you
Yeah.
carry them along. And I wanted the characters to have some of those.
That. I love that. Like, that's kind of like a little tribute. Oh,
Yeah, a little bit. Like,
yeah.
not necessarily a name, but if you knew some of the folks and you'd be like, oh, I see what she did there.
I think it's really sweet. Well, I didn't know, but now I do. It makes it more. I like that. Wow. You hit me in the feelers. That's
Oh,
a really
man.
hard place to hit.
I don't know. These books are a little emotional,
Yeah.
but sometimes I think it's important to be able to kind of explore darker emotions or sadder emotions in a safe place, and reading is a wonderful place for that.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's where I want to keep my emotions. I love all the feels. That's one of the things I love about books is all the feels. Now, you chose to do a first person point of view
Mhm.
for your writing. Now, what made you decide to take that narrative for your storytelling?
So for me, I wanted to be able to highlight their thoughts. And not that you can't do that with third person. I just felt like it would be like a deeper connection if you were
Yeah.
looking through the eyes while they're experiencing these things. So, like, if you're in Arabella's point of view, you're going to get a different feeling
Yeah.
than if you're in Uriah's.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of that, you'll notice throughout the story that, just like I think regular humans do every day, you might think something and then say something completely different.
Yeah.
And Uriah does that often. Like,
Yes.
you can kind of get the inside scoop on the game that he's playing, because 'cause he'll tell somebody one thing and then literally be like, "Or not."
I
So
did notice that. It's
yeah, so I'm
clever.
like, I wanted to show that kinda intricate way the mind works, to where not everything is necessarily just shown to people.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just kind of what's hiding in the back.
Smart. You are absolutely blowing me away with your answers, just so you know. You are absolutely crushing this. I can't believe it. I'm like, you keep saying things. I'm like, wow, let's talk that playlist at the beginning of Revealing Felix, because I did listen to it. I played it. I loved it. Now, what made you pick these songs in particular?
So those are the songs I listened to while I was writing the book. So especially for Revealing Felix, why am I blanking on the name? Max McNown? I don't know. He's a newer country artist, and one of his songs just came on at random on like one of my playlists, and I was
I
like,
love
okay,
that.
what is that? I was like, oh, that's the song. I was like, that's gonna be Felix's song. So with the playlist, it's just kind of what I was listening to get in the mood to write these, like, I don't want to say tragic stories, but there's a lot of moments that are just absolutely gut wrenching, and those were hard to write. Not that I've gone through all of those aspects, but just hearing other people's stories and then some of my
Yeah.
own personal experiences, having the music kind of set the tone, and then
Yeah.
writing that, especially from the first person point of view, you can kind of dig into how somebody might be feeling when they are in like an abusive relationship, or they're experiencing child abuse, or some of just the darker elements of the book. But I think they're very
Right.
important to explore. And I think the music just kind of accompanied those
Mhm.
to kind of tie it all together. And then you end up with like more of a full experience.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I've never seen that done before where I've actually paid attention and wanted to do it. And I'm like, I'm just gonna try one. I was like, I'm just gonna try one song. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna try one more. And then the next thing I know, I was finished. And I'm like, I get it because it felt like on a ride. Like I felt it. Like I could it was mind blowing. And I don't know why more authors don't do that. So that's my new favorite thing is music accompanying books. It's phenomenal. Love it.
Love it.
Now, I'm well known for my hatred of multiple points of view in books. I think one point of view is more than enough, especially in fantasy books. I think it tends to get very messy, but I actually
Yeah.
stood corrected with your work because I think it worked wonderfully. It made complete sense. But how easy was it to keep up with so many characters and keep them all connected with each other? Like that was a lot of work. Like how did you manage that?
So I think for me, I think it's a lot to do with my writing style. I don't jump around. I literally start with prologue and I work through chapter one. And then, like, when I break for whatever time between writing, I read the last chapter that I wrote before I write the next chapter. So
Oh,
the entire thing, like, I work it out kind of in my head before I sit down to write of where I want to go next. Like, I
yeah,
know where I need to get, and I have the major plot points kind of mapped out, but I don't worry about the little details. I just do it in the moment. And I think
yeah,
that's why it ties together so seamlessly, because I'm literally telling myself the story as I'm writing it for you.
yeah.
It's just kind of, yeah, it's kind of a fun way to do it, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah, I bet. Do you have like a special way of staying organized? Like, do you have post-it notes or a notebook?
I have both. So, and my phone is, I don't know how many notepad things I have on there of just like chapter 15, write this. and it'll just be what I want that chapter to be about. I've got a whole wall of Post-its downstairs. I have, stacks of Post-its that I've already used that I'm like, okay, I'm done with that. We can move on to the next one. I have like family trees
Oh,
written out because especially like when you start looking at the royals and how like say Finnegan relates to Kyrian, Fates like relates to Ulysses,
right.
and yeah, so like all of those, like I have them all mapped out because like it's like, okay, where does Judith fit in here? Like, why is she so important for
Yeah.
reclaiming Arabella? So yeah, like I have notes everywhere. My kids just kind of laugh at me because they'll go to pick up a piece of paper and I'm like, not that one. Like grab something out of your drawer. Like, don't touch my stuff. I get side eye, like whatever.
Love that. I love that. No, that's really smart. I'm a big Post-it person, but the problem I have is that I have ASD kids and they have a tendency
Right.
to take my stuff and replace it with clean ones. I don't know if they think they're helping, but I had like a show mapped out and my son was like looking and he was pointing. I'm like, yeah, buddy, that's my next show. And the next thing I know, it's just the board's full of like ones. I'm like,
You're like, wait, what happened? What happened to my project?
I had to redo it. I don't know. I never did find those Post-its. Never did find. I don't know what he did with them. I think gone.
Oh, that's great.
So I feel your pain there. So this is a trilogy, right? Like you've got
Yes.
another book planned. Do you have a working title already for the book? And are you willing to share it today?
Well, I do have a title, and I can tell you that it's going to be Uriah's book, and I can tell you that the initials are going to be RU. So there is a pattern. So reclaiming Arabella, revealing Felix, and then it's going to be Uriah's book next.
Nice.
I'm not going to drop the title until probably about New Year's, somewhere
Oh,
around there. I do have a cover. It's
no.
ready to go. So all of that, yeah, this one was tricky though. I tell you what, I don't know how many times I have like redone my background imaging and just argued with Photoshop. This one I had to actually Photoshop. My other ones were just flat out my photography, and then I just, like I arranged the feathers and put the necklace on top, which that's another thing. A lot of people are like the whole point of the book is literally on the cover, and I'm like, yeah, like it is. And
Oh,
they're just like, I had no idea. And I'm just like, that's okay. But yeah, they're planned, they're ready. I don't know. I'm a little behind in scheduling as far as writing going. I haven't had as much time to write this third book as I want, but
yeah.
it's coming. Don't worry. And it'll be out in 2026. I promise.
Because I'm caught up now. I need more. I need the finish. I need to know. I'm like my heart's like, "Oh, okay. She's probably almost finished." Was what I was telling myself after I was done. I was like, she's probably almost there. Just don't worry, Stacey. We'll be right.
One is done. Part one is done. I think I left off on chapter 19.
Oh, that's not
So,
so bad.
it's plugging along. It's plugging along. This one's going to be a little longer, I think, than the first two.
Yep.
Reclaiming Arabella came in at about 130,000 words. Revealing Felix is about 150,000 words. So
Yeah.
I'm just kind of adding 20 to 30,000 words every time I write. But it's coming
Yeah.
along. And then never fear, because there will be a fourth book. It won't necessarily be the trilogy, but it'll be the prequel.
The
So it's
prequel, right?
gonna kind of showcase Raven and meeting Nightmare, because after reading Revealing Felix, we all know how important Nightmare is.
Yeah.
Like it's coming though, I promise.
Oh, good. Because I'm not a big fan of like not knowing what's going on. I like to read things when they're finished. I'm like, you're probably close. You're probably close. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. I can be okay. This is obviously your current work in progress. How do you feel about wrapping up their stories at the end of this one? Do you feel bereft? Like, are you going to be okay kind of leaving the characters there at the end of this book?
Yeah. So part of the reason this one's taking so long to write is the emotional toll that it
Yeah.
is taking on me. I had to write a chapter that it's very necessary, and I promise everything will be a happily ever after, but I literally sobbed after writing it. So saying goodbye to these characters is going to be really, really hard. Um, I'm kind of excited to be able to jump back with the prequel and
Yeah.
kind of play around with like Raven's history and kind of dig in more to the assassin vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be hard to say goodbye. It's going to be
Yeah.
hard. And I may or may not go back and do like a split off. I haven't decided, but never say never,
Yeah. I was kind of
Never say
hoping
never.
you'd say there'd be a spin-off, but I actually quite like the idea of knowing more about what happened to Raven because I kind of feel like we kind of like, obviously there has to be a jump because they finally get back together and everything. But ooh, that would be so exciting to read her story. Like just the
Yeah.
whole before. I'd be totally on board for that. Totally on board for that. So
Yeah.
what
Well,
made
maybe 2027. Call it that.
you hold on
We'll
till
pop it
then?
to.
I can hold on till then.
So yeah, I mean, it just I feel like after writing the first one, it gets easier. Oh,
Yeah,
now, especially being an indie writer, once you figure things out and kind of understand the formula of how to put it all together and then how to start marketing it, it gets so much
right.
easier. So I'm
Yeah,
like, if anybody else is out there trying to stumble through this, it gets better. It gets easier.
goodness.
It's not as daunting the second time around.
Oh, I bet. Like I've spoken to other authors and they're like, yeah, the first book, you don't realize that you should be marketing months beforehand and having a street team and all this other stuff. And she was like, yeah, my first book kind of tanked because she was like, I thought I wrote the story and that was it. She was like, that's like a tiny portion of being an indie
It really
author.
is.
Like
It's
5
the tip of the
full-time
iceberg.
jobs. Seriously, I couldn't do everything that you guys do because of how beautiful your writing is, to having to do all your own marketing and all you do
Yeah.
your own artwork and everything else.
A
Like,
lot.
how would you do things when there's not 5 of you? Like, you need 5 of you to get this stuff done, and you get it all done. So that's impressive.
It's a lot, and putting out 2 books 9 months apart, that was or 10 well, no, 9 months apart. Reclaiming Arabella came out December 1st, 2024, and then Revealing Felix was September 9th, 2005. So,
Yeah,
while I was doing the marketing for Reclaiming Arabella, I was already writing Revealing Felix,
yeah,
and then
that's what I
same
mean.
thing with Revealing Felix, I've already been working on this next book, so it's a
Crazy.
lot. It's a
It is
lot.
a
It's
lot.
definitely yeah, it's definitely worth it at the end. It's totally worth it, but for, like, me, I'm just lucky enough to have Mike, my husband, because without him, I could not do this.
I
There's
love
just no
that.
way.
Oh, I love that. You're a partnership. That's awesome.
Yes. We make a great team.
Yeah, it sounds like you do. Like they even just guiding you and helping you with these books. Like that's nice. I love
He's the
that.
best alpha reader.
Oh, I love
He's
that.
always got the best comments. Well, and he's a writer himself, so
Oh,
that kinda
really?
helps because yeah, I would say so then, we have a very creative household, like, we're both writers, we're both painters, we both dabble in other art and other projects, like, he builds board games, and I'm all like in my head, I'm just all like, "Can we make an Agron Realm board game?" I was like, "Hmm." So then it's just like
Yes.
it's just all these ideas that are always floating around, and I'm like part of me is just kinda like, I hope nobody thinks my kids are too weird, but we always kind of fall back into the arts at the end of the day.
Oh my god, that's so cool. Yes to the board game. Yes, I put my hand up, please. Yes, please. I'd play. That's amazing. So, what made you choose fantasy as your genre to write in?
Actually a great question. So, like, if you met me, like, 10 years ago, you'd be like, "Alrighty," because I tend to fall back onto, like, heavy, like, Tim Burton vibes with, like, a lot of whimsy and whimsical, but then at the same time, like, the first, like, big epic fantasy I ever read was Sword of Truth from Terry Goodkind, and I absolutely fell in love with it and the aspect of it and just the probabilities because they're endless.
Yeah.
So, like, with fantasy, you can do anything. You're not constrained by anything. If you come up
Mhm.
with a problem, you just have to find the solution.
Yeah.
So, I think that's why I wanted to write like romantasy or fantasy because it pulls all of the elements that I love in books all together in one place. And it's
Yeah.
just, like a cozy, happy place.
But what inspired you to write this specific story? Like, where was the
I
inspiration?
was bored. So that's the honest answer. I was bored. So I babysit for a friend and she was on maternity leave,
Yeah.
like baking up my littlest munchkin running around. So while she was out, I had nap times and preschool, and all of a sudden I wasn't doing a million things all at once. And so I just started sitting down at nap time and I started a writing exercise one day. And it was
Oh,
just kind of so right. So that's where you get the first 4 chapters of Reclaiming Arabella was this writing exercise that I did. And
nice.
then I just kind of shelved it for like a month. And then I picked it up one day and read it through and I was just like, oh, this is actually pretty good. So like I made a few tweaks and then I just kept going. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, well, I've written a book. Now what do I do with it? And then, that's I've got ADHD and I hyper focus a lot and it's usually something creative.
Yeah.
And I zoned into let's bring this puppy to life.
Oh,
And here we are, like 2.5 years into it, and I'm like, what's next? Which is just
love
kind of
that.
fun on itself.
That is so freaking cool. That might be the coolest thing I have ever heard. Wow. Love that. Were there any obstacles that you had to face in writing this? And if there were, how did you overcome them?
It's like one of those things. I hope that, like if the FBI is paying attention, they don't check my search history too closely because I've Googled a lot of really weird things. It's so I think it might be any writer at this point. But yeah, I mean, the only obstacles that I've really come up against are like, is that too much? Is that too, like, is that going to be disturbing? Because nobody likes when a child's picked on,
No.
but you know the event I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there were things to where I was Googling things like maggots, and that's not one of those fun things that you really wanna go
Ugh,
looking at.
no.
But at the same time, I think it was an important detail in the story to realize the dire circumstances that the character was going through. So I think that was, like, the hardest thing was trying to write these scenes and not breaking my own heart in the
Oh, yeah.
process. And then it's, just sitting there and going, redemption is coming. Redemption is coming. It's going to be okay. Like just so many conversations with myself to be like, it'll be fine. You're going to fix this. Like
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest challenge. Like cuz it's I
yeah.
have kids myself and just the thought of that really it makes me sick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's probably the biggest hurdle to get over is to be like, but it's important to character growth and there's a lot of character growth.
Oh, yeah. Wow, I didn't yeah, I guess that I never had to think about that before. I'm like, yeah, that would be horribly hard. Wow.
Yeah.
That was not what I was expecting you to say. That was top notch. Wow, you're blowing me away today. I'm like, "Oh, that's a really good point." How much of the world building, because you did some really nice world building, how much of it was planned in advance? And what did you have to change as the story progressed? Or did you pretty much stay on the path you had set for yourself?
Pretty much stayed on the path. So with book one, I didn't want to overwhelm anybody with too much because I think that's the biggest difference between fantasy and romantasy is less world building and more common elements
Yeah.
versus all of these astronomical like new terms and different elements to try to learn.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that with the first book. So the second book, we expand a little bit more and you get to see far more of the Agron Realm.
Yeah.
So for me, the world building, I wanted it to be something that you could still recognize and pick up, even if it's the first like romantasy book that you've ever read
Yeah.
and not be so overwhelmed that you're like, yeah, no thanks. That was kind of the goal with that. And I think just writing the way I do, like I just kept building on things. So I
Yeah.
think that's why it stays to where you can picture it, but it's not too much.
Yeah. No, you did an amazing job. I was like, I felt like I was there. You have a very beautiful way of writing, but you managed to keep the plot and the characters, the balance was there. Like I find sometimes it's either very character driven or it's very plot driven. And you found a really beautiful balance between the two and your writing just flowed. I very much enjoyed your work. I think it would have made a really good audiobook, like a phenomenal audiobook.
I haven't learned how to do that quite yet.
No, it's really expensive, but as I was reading it, I'm like, my own voice is pretty decent in my head, but I'm like, I could just
Yeah.
it would be such a phenomenal audiobook. I could just see it being one of those audiobooks that people are raving about because it's so well done. You did an amazing
Oh,
job.
nice.
So you should really
Oh,
be
thank
proud
you.
of yourself if one day you do decide to do audio. I would listen as well because it was brilliant. It was absolutely
Maybe.
brilliant.
I don't know. My street team has gotten a few snippets of just chapters that or like paragraphs of chapters that I recorded myself. Never say never. I don't know
Oh,
if it's something that just given finances, like
yeah.
I just don't know if that's feasible, but you never know. I might get bored and start recording one of them myself. I'm like never say never.
So
I've done it
good.
myself, so maybe. I don't know.
You never know. I would
Have a
never
few
say never.
hours
I
to
could
read.
hear it in my head. I'm like, this would just. I could hear like the tones and the way the way your writing comes out in someone's mouth. Like, so I read some of it out loud to my husband, And he's like, this would be a really good audiobook. I'm like, right, it would be. Yeah.
Fingers crossed that it goes that way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because not a lot of books translate well in audio, I don't think. Sometimes it's better to
Yeah.
read it. But your book was great being read, but it would make a brilliant audiobook. I'm going to be there for that. If you ever make that announcement, I am there.
I'll send you an email.
Perfect. So, are you an avid reader yourself? And what book got you into reading?
Ooh, so I think probably the first book that got me into reading was The Giver by Lois Lowry. So
I have a
it's a
copy of
young
that.
reader. I think I was probably about 10 when I read it. And aside from that, yeah, I would say like this week alone, I've read 3 books. So
Nice.
I mean, it's like one of those things where I kind of go in spurts for if I'm writing, I'm not reading as much. If I'm
Right.
reading, then I try not to mix the two because I don't want to be kind of twisting other people's ideas into my story. I don't think I would ever do that intentionally, but I just keep a hard break in between when I'm actively writing. So like if I have a planned writing session for the day, I'm not going to read a day or two before just to keep my mind clear. I'll just
Makes
tell
sense.
my where I want to go with the story instead. But
Yeah.
yeah, definitely an avid reader. I think I just hit number 58 for the year. So not as
No,
many as some, but I also
you
tend to go for longer novels. So
yeah. Well,
there's
if you
that
read a
too.
lot of fantasy, there's some pretty sizable fantasy novels out there, that's for sure. But you write too, so your time is split between two. So to have read that many books, that's really quite impressive. I'm actually very impressed.
It's like the little pleasures in life.
Definitely. If I could do anything all day, it would just be read. But being a mom, I tend to listen to audiobooks while I'm dealing with them, like one headphone in, one out. So I can still like listen and do stuff. My husband's like, are you listening to me or that audiobook? I'm like, did I answer you? He's like, yeah, but I'm like, yeah, 'cause I'm more here than here. Yeah, I
For
love
sure.
reading. So I got one more question for you before we do the this or that. If you
Okay.
could be a fae, what would be the most exciting part of being in that race for you?
I think having the magical powers, like I would love, like love to be able to yield Arabella's light. Like she can do so much with it. And I would just, yeah, I
Yeah,
want the magic. Like
I don't know. The wings is kind of impressive too. Like
the wings are kind of impressive. I love to be able to fly, but I have a feeling I would get like scared of heights too often or
oh yeah.
something, or I would like the wind would hit my wings wrong and I'd freak out.
You know what? I probably would as well because I don't like ladders. So yeah, I guess flying would probably be help for me as well. I never even thought about that. I'm like, yeah, flying would be great.
Yeah.
Except you don't like heights.
It would be like one strong gust, and I'd be like, I'm gonna walk.
Yeah. We're good. We're good. But they'd be pretty. They're like pretty wings.
It
Like
would
the
be
way you
pretty,
describe the
yes.
wings, I'm like, oh yeah. Touching them all the
That would be
time.
gorgeous.
That would be so great. So, quick question. You obviously read. Do you dog ear your pages or do you use a bookmark like a civilized human being?
I either use a bookmark or I'll like leave it laid down open, but I don't usually fold the pages. And I'm not a big annotator either, with the exception of my own book. So like Revealing Felix, I missed my editing window and ended up having to edit myself, which that's an undertaking to say the least. But if you ever end up doing that, don't do the book in order, pick random chapters, and it's much easier to see your mistakes. So like chapter 37, then chapter 2, and then chapter like 14, and then you just keep jumping around and it makes it a whole lot easier because your brain, isn't correcting everything as you go. So
Oh, that's
there's a tip.
smart.
But
That was a big
but
tip
yeah.
there, right? That makes sense. No, I was just wondering because do you know how many people say that because they do the folding thing and put the book down too? And I'm like, oh, but it breaks the
Yeah.
spine.
See, and I don't know, like, I usually put it on, like, the arm of the couch or something, so it's like a soft bend,
Oh,
and it's
that's not
not,
so bad. Okay.
like yeah, because
Okay,
it's
that's
if I'm putting a book up, then it's, with a bookmark and it's put away, but
okay,
although
good.
some bookmarks are really thick, and I'm just like, "Doesn't that break the spine?"
You have to be very careful. Like somebody, I know somebody, and they bought one of those resin bookmarks, the ones that are made out of resin. Then she left the book in her car, and the resin bookmark started to melt.
Yeah,
She's like, "Look what happened!" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" She's like, "Don't recommend
honestly,
reading."
I would cry. That's horrendous. Oh,
Luckily
man.
enough, it was a used book that she picked up at the thrift store, so it really
That's
wasn't that bad. But she was like,
that's
"Could you imagine?"
special edition.
No, oh my god, no. She was like, "But if
I
it had been no, no. If it had been a library book," she was like, "My library charges a ton of money to replace their books because it's
Oh,
library
yeah.
binding, right?" She was like, "Thank goodness it was just a thrift book." She was like, "Yeah." So yeah, I don't recommend resin. Don't buy resin bookmarks. Not if you're going to leave them
I'll
in the
keep
car.
that in mind.
Yeah, that was, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, oh my God. I have to use magnetic ones because my kids pull them out. And
Yeah.
magnetic ones are harder to pull out. So that's a tip. If you've got kids, don't, magnetic ones work best. Okay, so we're going to do a little this or that literary edition. So just pick, you can pick one or you can say both, but explain why you want both. So do you prefer hard copy books or e-readers?
Hard copy.
Nice.
Not that I don't like reading on my phone. I just don't want to have to pack around a device when I could just sit in a corner and not, have screens popping up while I'm trying to read.
Oh God, I hate that. My husband reads on his phone a lot, and I'm like, how do you not get distracted by social media? He says, well, I do. I'm like, doesn't that defeat the object of reading? He's like, no. Man, a few words, my husband. Funny. So do you prefer to write with a pen and paper or on your laptop?
On my laptop. Mostly just
Yeah.
because it's faster.
Yeah. Oh, my handwriting's atrocious. You'd never be able to read it. Okay. So are you a morning writer or an evening writer, night owl?
I think I would prefer to be an evening writer, but out of necessity, I usually end up starting at the crack of dawn when I do get to sit down.
Yeah. I feel that with myself. Being a mom, you just have to do it where you can fit it in. That's just life. Yeah, I get that one. Are you more research or inspiration when it comes to writing your books?
Probably more inspiration, because a lot of times I'm just telling myself the story and I'm writing the books that I would want to read. So I think probably more inspiration. Not that I don't research things, because, every now and then I'm all like, I want to write about this, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It'll be, like a battle scene. And I'm all like, I need to find out what, 5 different weapons look like. And then all of a sudden I'm down the Google rabbit hole.
Get that. I get that. So do you prefer mountains or beaches?
Mountains. I grew up in Oregon. So I live in the Midwest now, but I spent the first 28 years of my life in the mountains. So I do miss that quite a bit. Not that I don't love the ocean, because I grew up on the West Coast and about an hour away from Coos Bay. So I spent a lot of time and that's part of why the Shallows is what it is because I spent a lot of time out fishing and on the sea when I was a kid. Growing up, like my dad was in the Navy. He's a big sailor. Anytime he could get out and 40 miles off the coast to go fishing, that's where we were. So I don't know. That one's a little harder, but like the mountains are home. Like just go sit in some fir trees and just the smell and like the diatomaceous earth, and it just, I don't know.
I love that.
Like that one's
Because I live in Calgary, which is right by the Rocky Mountains, and we get so much snow. And I'm from the UK, and I thought I'd be like, oh, whimsical. That's going to be so romantic. It's not romantic.
no, it's messy.
It is messy and it is horrible. And Calgary has Chinooks, so it melts and then it freezes. Yeah, I would definitely go with beaches myself. Do you prefer tea or coffee?
Tea.
Yeah,
Mostly
me
because
too.
I can't do caffeine. The caffeine just puts me to sleep. So I do a lot of decaffeinated tea. Like a part of it, I think it's just the ADHD. Like I start hitting caffeine and I will literally just go take a nap.
Wow. That's crazy. If I have a cup of coffee at midday, I'm struggling to fall asleep. That's how sensitive I am to caffeine. I love it though because I like the whipped cream in there. Oh, but terrible. But I have to drink tea. Bad girl.
That's what you gotta do. You gotta do like a chai latte or something then.
Ooh,
I'm still add all the good stuff.
I'm just so lazy. I set a pot in the morning and that's it. Like drip. Put it in my cup. Drip. I'm so lazy. And the tea, but even like the tea, right? Just put hot water in there and I'm like, that's it. That's about the extent of my.
That's about all I have time for. And it reheats better.
I feel that with my soul. I feel that with myself. Do you prefer summer or winter?
Probably winter. Mostly from moving to the Midwest. It is so humid during the summer that it's just kind of miserable. So probably winter because I can always add a sweater. It's really hard to get rid of the humidity.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. I like being warm and toasty. Like winter is always winter here. We have summer and winter. Our week went from 25 degrees C to snow the next day. That's my life here. It sucks.
I feel that. Yeah, it's coming.
Horrible. You prefer a quiet place to study or a busy cafe?
Probably a busy cafe. If there's more noise in the background, then my mind is usually a little more quiet and I can focus more.
Well, like that. Do you prefer to travel or stay home?
This is a hard one because I'm a big homebody and I work from home. So I am home probably all but like 4 or 5 hours of the entire week. But I'm gonna say travel, but only
Nice.
road trips. Not like I won't fly. Not
Really?
I'm not a get on the airplane kind of girl, but I
Okay.
love to go for a drive and the kids like to see what's around. So we do
Nice.
that quite a bit in our off time.
I've never really taken a road trip. It's
Oh
not
man.
back home. It's not really a thing. Like you can drive from one end of England to Scotland in 5 hours. Like it's not really
Kind of
anywhere
defeats the purpose.
to go. Oh, I should travel across Canada, but I've never done it. Maybe I
Yeah.
will. Maybe you've inspired me to do a road trip. Maybe I should
That would
try
be
that.
awesome.
Yeah. I'll let you know how it goes.
I think I've driven through 43 states now. So like we're
Wow.
almost done with all of them. We're still checking some off the list. And obviously like Alaska and Hawaii will be a little bit
That's a
more
bit
intense.
harder.
We'll get there. We'll get
Well, because
there.
Alaska's like next to us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be quite the drive. That'd be quite the drive. Holy mackerel, yeah. I was just like thinking about it, I'm like, wow,
I don't think it would be
fun,
too
right?
bad. I have cousins up there, so
Nice.
I just go visit and be like, "Hey, you haven't seen me in 5 years, but ta-da,
Oh, I love that. Do you prefer cats or dogs?
dogs." I'm actually allergic to cats, so it's not that I don't like cats, and I'll take allergy medicine every day to have a cat, and I have in the past.
Yeah.
But love, 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 love my dogs. That's I lost my girl Abigail about a year ago, and
Oh, I'm
she's
sorry.
actually like I put a tribute in the back of the book because she means that much to me, even
Aw.
still. And we have our dog Duke, so there's always a four-legged friend running around, but usually one that barks.
Yeah, I like that. I'm a dog person too. So do you prefer your stories to be character driven or more plot driven?
I'm gonna say plot driven. I like good character development and having some good banter in there is always nice. But if there's not like a reason why they're there, then it gets kind of boring plot.
Nice. Okay. Do you prefer happy endings or bittersweet conclusions?
Ooh, this is a hard one. So it kind of varies based on genre. So like if I'm reading a thriller, I want a happy ending.
Really?
If drama, bittersweet is fine. What I don't like is when a series ends and it's still a cliffhanger. That's a
Ugh.
little rough to try to like you're like, okay, but what happens? Like I need to know what happens.
Yeah, I hate cliffhangers are my least favorite thing in the world. Unless I have the next book, like I have to have it right away. I hate because I start
Sorry
to
about that.
stress. I start to stress. Oh my gosh. Okay. Do you prefer genre fiction or literary fiction?
I'm gonna say genre. I kind of bounce between like fantasy, romantasy, and thrillers, or like paranormal, like
Right.
cozy mysteries. So yeah, probably genres more than like I don't know.
Yeah.
I definitely keep it a little broader.
Yeah. It's funny because of the way you write, I could see you being quite a excellent literary fiction writer because the way you write is it's very pretty. Very pretty. I could see you being in that genre too. So I wondered where you were going to go with that. That's an excellent choice. Do you think writer's block or reader's block is worse?
Probably reader's block. Just because like I don't know. That was actually it took me till this week. Like, I've probably picked up 10 different books in the last month, read like 100 pages and was like, "Nah, just not doing it." And that's like the worst feeling ever. And I'll circle back and finish them, but I hate when you're just like reading and you're like, "Why am I reading this?" That's the
Yes.
worst feeling.
Oh my God. It's funny because I always assume that an author's going to say writer's block. And I think only one has ever said it, which is, yeah, I'm actually really surprised. If somebody had said, which one do you think it would be? And I would have gone with writers and I would have sworn my life on that. I'm going to have to change my opinion now. That's funny.
I think with writer's block, there's different things you can do to break it.
Yeah.
So, like for me, if I'm stuck, then like sometimes we'll go for a car ride, and my husband will be like, "What's next?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I could do this. I could do that," and it kind of breaks me out of that. So that's again, he's my crutch. Or even just taking a shower. Sometimes just going for a walk, like shower. Hey, shower thoughts. That is like 90% of Felix right there.
Is
Is just like, "Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, hey, what critters can I create?" So, I mean, it just, there's different ways to break out of that, but I think reading, you either find the book or you don't.
yeah. Oh, that's like I said, your answers are blowing me away. Like, you're saying things I don't expect. It's absolutely phenomenal. I love it. And the last one, do you think originality or reader expectations is something that you do in your books? Is it originality or reader?
I think probably just originality. I don't pay attention to my readers as much, which I know that's probably a horrible thing to say, but I really am writing the story that I would want to read as a
Yeah.
reader. So I think that's part of the draw is the originality of I'm just like, I don't want to just write a trope to write a trope.
Yeah.
Not that they're not there. So like the age gap is there, the fated mates is there, the found family is there. Like you're gonna find those elements, but they're not like, kapow, this is all there is to the book. And I don't want to write that way
Yeah.
because I'm tired or getting burned out on reading the same book with different characters but the same plot line.
Yeah.
So I'm
That
like
makes sense.
definitely originality.
So obviously you're currently working on book 3 and readers can find it sometime next year. Do you have a rough idea of when it's going to come out?
Probably well, I was shooting for April, and then I broke my arm, which makes it
Oh no.
really hard to type, so I'm not typing as much, so probably by July at the latest, I'm hoping, if I can get it together and, like, really start pounding it out, because that's on a good weekend, I can type 10,000 words in a sitting
Yeah.
when I have time to do it, it's just finding the time with little ones, and then my husband's work schedule is different than it was last spring,
Okay.
so that makes it harder. I don't have like a dedicated day like I did to where I just lock myself in the basement for 16 hours and plug away.
Right.
So now I'm finding like an hour here and there, so it's a
Yeah.
little slower, but it's coming. Like
That's
it'll be out in 2026 before fall.
that's good. So where can people buy your first 2 books and where can they find you on social media?
So you can find me on social media with author Darling Ducky. I'm mostly on IG. I am on Facebook. I don't do as much on there. As far as finding my books, you can find them on Amazon. I am a KP author, but I do co-sign with a couple different places. So what is it? I can't say it. Bibliobeanbooks.com is is another indie writer and store, and Amber carries my books. You
No.
can find them at Broken Anchor Books if you are in like North Carolina and around that area. And my local Barnes and Noble has copies of my books as well.
Nice. I love that. Have you ever gone into Barnes& and Nobles and signed them?
I have, yeah. So I actually had yeah, I would say my book launch for Revealing Felix was at Barnes and Noble in Oswego, Illinois this year. So that was kind of a fun, just unexpected treat. They reached out in like July. They were like, "Hey, we heard you had a book coming out," and I was like, "I would love to launch it at your store." So we made that
Yeah.
happen, and it
That's
was
so
it was
cool.
very exciting and fun.
God,
Yeah,
that's so
it's
hope one day I go into a bookstore and that I just pull it out and it's signed. Like,
yes, that's always a treat, isn't it?
oh yeah, for sure. It's never happened to me yet, but one day I'm sure it will.
I'm
It's
sure
so
it'll
cool.
happen.
Yeah. It was really great to have you on, DianaKay. I'm not even being funny when I say that I have read a lot of fantasy books and yours just felt very original. And I really hope that some people see this and go find your books and enjoy them as much as I did. That is the hope. I'm hoping that when your next installment comes out, that maybe you want to come and talk to me again about that
Sure.
installment so we can catch people up on what's going on and kind of push you further out there because I really think that you have something here and people are really going to appreciate what you write.
Well, thank you, and thank you for having me today.
Oh, of
I would say
course,
it was a wonderful
anytime.
conversation. Your questions are
Anytime.
superb.
Perfect. I work really hard trying to make sure that I ask questions without spoiling stuff. And that's really hard. It's really hard
It
not to
it can be
spoil
very
stuff.
hard. Yeah, it can be
Gosh.
hard for sure.
Like, I'm like, I don't want to give too much away because I'm like, I don't like to like have spoilers. So I'm like trying to be really gentle and careful. But I
That is
really loved your books. And I'm gonna
well,
keep
thank you.
plugging this week your stuff because I've
Yeah,
obviously finished reading them. I just started reviewing them last night. So I'm gonna spend this week putting stuff on my socials about you. And obviously, guys, you can find me on any of my social medias. My TikTok is at Ladulterous. You can find me on Facebook at Ladulterous. You can find me on Instagram at Ladulterous Whore. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel at Ladulterous. And if you type Ladulterous into Spotify, you can find me there as well. Thanks again for coming on, DianaKay. And I hope to catch up with you again very, very soon.
Awesome. Sounds wonderful.
Is there anything you want to add before we sign off?
Not really. Just, indie authors, we thrive on reviews. Well, like good, bad, ugly, let me know.
I
Right?
love
Thank you
that.
all.
I don't think anyone's gonna have anything bad to say about your work. Anyway, readers, we will catch you next time. Me and Diana wish you a great reading weekend. Take care.